Hey guys, and welcome back to the painting parlour. This is going to be a quick intro because I only have 15 minutes per slot. I said I would happily show some people how to paint a Nurgle miniature in 30 minutes. So with intro and stuff time, what I'm going to do is attempt to paint this standard Pox Walker to a decent standard in 30 minutes, just to show that it can be done using a glaze method. So obviously I've cleaned it all up and then I've sprayed it white. The colours I am using, you can see here. I'm not going to bother reading them out because obviously time is short. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with a flesh tone. I'm using bone white actually for this one. So not really a flesh tone, but a slightly off-white ivory. Last time I used a pale flesh from scale 75. It doesn't really matter. My paint water is just manky old paint water. Almost intentionally so. So I'm going to saturate up the brush with the colour, and then I'm just going to literally just bang it all over the flesh with no care whatsoever. So all I'm wanting to do is cover the flesh recesses and the flesh areas, leaving the bone and leaving the clothing and everything else. So it's got a foot down here. Oh, sorry guys, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's just move this back here so you can see. That's better, isn't it? And then let's just get it to focus. Move the light in a bit more. Hopefully that's good for you. Okay, so exactly the same on the back, just literally bladdering it all over. I'm using a Winsor & Newton Series 7 brush, and all I want this to do is to provide a pigment for the colours to catch on. These were all once human, obviously. Now the challenge I have when I'm doing this in 30 minutes on a camera is I don't have a hairdryer, because it will just, well, nobody wants to sit and listen to me hairdry. So you're gonna have to just bear with me while I'm doing this. Just going around now, just pulling off the excess pigment that I've pulled everywhere and just moving it around just to help it dry a bit quicker. Okay, going to give that a little blow off cam. Okay, there he is. Now we're going to use scale 75, the matte range rather than the fantasy range. We're going to use Sherwood green, which is a current absolute favourite colour of mine. I love it. And again, I'm just going to turn that into a glaze, but a heavy glaze. So if you don't know how to make a glaze is basically just paint and water. And it's just depending on the ratios of pigment to water you want. So a really thin glaze is kind of 10 parts water, 1 part paint. I want a slightly thicker pigment paint glaze for this, just because I want the paint to actually sort of make itself known in 1 or 2 coats rather than 5 or 6 coats. Okay, and now at random I am going to just go over and start to put some green from this colour onto this dude. And as you can see, I'm not hitting everywhere. It can be, what's fab about Nurgle is you can be really slapdash with them. And you'll notice obviously the primary pigment, the first pigment, hadn't dried yet, so it's all kind of just mixing and mushing in with each other. Okay, see the dude? Alright. looks remarkably unimpressive at the minute, obviously. It's still very wet. Okay, now I'm going to use Scale 75 Deep Red, which is another one of the super mattes, and this is my favourite colour in the entire world. And I literally mean that. There is no better colour than Scale 75 Deep Red in any range, anywhere. And again, I'm glazing it. This was a really light pigment glaze, ironically, even given the coverage. This was, you know, this is like almost a 10-to-1, just recycling it from earlier use. Okay, now don't worry that the green is gone, because what we're going to do is intentionally build up layers of putrefaction. Good word, putrefaction. Let's use that more often. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to get a bit more Sherwood green. Now, again, the pigments are all still wet. I'm going to make a heavy body wash of Sherwood green. As you can see, there is literally no rhyme or reason to how or why I'm placing this. This is, you know, quick paint. Let's figure. I'm just going to catch a bit of the putrescence in the belly there. Okay. Now we're going to go for heavy violet from Game Colour, so purple basically. This is a real heavy pigment paint, so for this one I'm just going to want to take a tiny little tip of it and then bang a shitload of water onto it, and we're going to pull okay. So we have a problem obviously in the fact that it's going to take a while for all this shit to dry, and that is going to slow down the process, but we're 8.5 minutes in at the minute, so I think we'll just keep going obviously until it's done, but you'll get the idea. What I'm going to do now is take some neat and try and kind of utilise the drying time. Scale 75 Channama Orange, and I am just going to bladder all of the tool with orange to start off with. Obviously having good brush control and understanding pigment helps you to paint quickly, but you know, anybody can do this with half a moment to think about it. Okay, so in order to save some time, I am gonna, and to carry the theme through, I'm going to use some of that Sherwood green again. I'm going to use that as the base tone for his clothing. We'll just give him some khakis. Don't worry that they're luminescent at the minute. obviously that will very much change as we start to add more textures and washes over the top of them just to bring it to life. And obviously we want the clothing to look pretty old anyway, so by the time it starts to blend with the colours that are already on there, excuse my noisy kids, Alright, just give me 1 second, just going to shut the door. Let's just shut the door to the studio so we can't hear the two little ones playing as much. While it's drying, I'm just going to move some of this pooled pigment away. Obviously we've got some pooling around the hand. Doesn't matter that the orange is blended into the hand. Nothing to say that the Pox Walker wouldn't have the tool actually starting to grow into him. And I'm just going to use some of that orange and just overlay it in a few more places. Alright, what I'm going to do is try and do this real time, but I'm going to stop the video now and wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to start the video again. So, and I'll load part 2 of this up, because then I'm not having to rush to screw that around just while it's drying, without a hairdryer obviously. But what I'll do is attempt to just literally pick up straight away where I left off. Okay, so we're going to finish this video at 12 minutes and 30 seconds.